Welcome back from that break. You're watching Business Live on JoyNews. My name is Darryl Carl. Let's begin with the mid-year review and supplementary budget presentation by the Finance Minister on Monday. Well, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta would seek Parliament's approval to spend additional revenue realized as he prepares to present the mid-year review. The move is part of government's measures to help manage crucial infrastructure needs. Deputy Minister of Finance Kweku Kwarteng, who disclosed this to Joy Business, however, assures that this would not worsen government's expenditure position.
When we say we're going for approval in order to do additional expenditures, they are expenditures that we consider are critical. They are critical for our overall economic management objectives. So it is by no means floodgate. In any case, you would hear it for yourself on Monday and you'll be able to judge for yourself. Many of us are very prudent economic management thinkers, and I just don't see why we should just open the floodgates and to spend even because we are getting into an election.
That is where people say that, yes, of course, that's why
we will not do that, because the experience of the past, you saw the over-expenditures of 2012, and today we are still feeling the impact.
The deficit.
Yes, the 2012 over-expenditures, and in the end we struggled badly to recover. We couldn't recover. In the end, we went to the IMF. We have managed to take the country out of the IMF. We think the economy is now doing much better. It's healthier than we met it. There is no way that for the sake of elections, we will want to go back to the excessive and less planned, less helpful over expenditures of 2012. We will not do that. And I think some of these things should be left to time and see whether we intend to push this economy out of gear. We will not do that.
You're looking at the expenditure initially in the budget about 70 billion Ghana cedis and all the rest. And help me out. Sorry, as a layman, again, I'm struggling that would that mean there will be some realignment in the expenditure position so that even if additional revenue are coming in, it will mean that obviously Kobna will say that, okay, 70 billion target, additional 1 billion has come in, I'm going to spend. That will increase the expenditure 71 billion. That could impact the deficit as well.
Well, I mean, on Monday we'll hear the details. I do not want to go into the details right now, except to mention that, yes, we're going to seek approval for additional expenditures, but as you will see, those expenditures are very strategic. They have nothing to do with the tendency for governments, especially approaching election year, to just spend. You would see the strategic additional expenditures coming, and you would know that definitely this is not business as usual.
Will we see some cuts in some areas as well in terms of expenditure to still help manage the deficit?
Yes, we may see movements of allocation around a bit. It will not be so much to manage the deficit as it would be to achieve the overall objectives of the 2019 budget statement. As we indicated, we want to promote growth and jobs. And so as you implement the budget, you begin to see which areas you'd want to tweak a bit. And so the movements in allocation that you would see would be to achieve the strategic objectives rather than the correcting a deficit or an attempt to contain any deficit. In terms of the deficit, I have indicated that we are going to ask for approval specifically to incur certain additional expenditures, and then the environment, the movement of allocations around would be to achieve strategic objectives.
No, but do I for my All right, so Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Kwarteng there. The media review would also afford the Finance Minister an opportunity to adjust the macroeconomic targets outlined in the 2019 budget. This is expected to give some assurance to businesses that they are committed to prudent management of the economy. Let's talk a bit more about this. Joining me in studio is Joy Business Assistant Editor, Georgia Fish. So we've heard about why a supplementary budget is important. Why is the presentation by the minister so crucial, this media review?
So, Daryl, you talk about the Public Financial Administration Act, which actually enjoys the minister in the middle of the year come to the House and tell us how the economy has fared for the first half of this year. You set certain macroeconomic targets in the budget. You want to ensure that you achieve a single-digit inflation, deficit will not be more than 5%. Give us an update about how the economy has fared. If it's clear that we are not on track, then update us.
Okay.
If new revenues have come in, that's why we talk about the supplementary budget. The law says that even if the minister wants to spend a peswa, he needs approval from Parliament. So some revenue have come in from oil. The minister should come to the House and explain to us that this revenue has come in, therefore I need your approval to spend. And also, if it's clear that we cannot meet certain targets, let's use a mid-year budget review or a mid-year review, to correct those measures. Because when you tell investors out there you're going to end the year recording a deficit by X number, people use that to plan. If it's clear you cannot miss those targets, you need to come back and tell people that I can't meet these targets, so I am reviewing those targets. That is why he has to do it before July 31.
Okay.
That is what the law says.
Okay. And so we are hearing talk about revenue mobilization, the fact that the finance minister will focus on that. Does that mean he's going to introduce new taxes? What are we hearing from our sources?
You're right on that one, because what we cannot be clear on the names here, but yes, he's going to introduce new taxes. Because
what kind of taxes do we know?
For now, it's very difficult now to give them, but what we can tell you for sure is that expect some new tax measures when it goes to Parliament on Monday. It is all about revenue. If you want to control the budget deficit, you need to look at how to bring in more revenue and also close the gap as well. Lots of road, we talk about LECMA. People want infrastructure projects to be completed. So if certain taxes should be introduced in the area, in the energy area, maybe when it comes to the communication area, expect some review. The tax on luxury vehicles would not be scrapped. It will be there. But what we understand is that there might be some review. So expect some tax measures when it comes before Parliament to address
I'm sure the luxury vehicle owners will be disappointed hearing this. But so why should the thousands or the millions pay critical attention to what the finance minister says on Monday? How would it affect them?
There's a concern that there is some rigidity in the system. When government spends, there's a rippling effect on that. So if, for instance, you are dealing with a contractor and the person is not paying you, with this approval to spend money, it means that that contractor might be paid, Daryl, and that would have an impact on you. There are several road projects that have delayed, leading to hospitals, leading to markets. If he's getting new revenue to spend, it means that we could see some economic activities in some areas picking up as a result of realigning expenditure. So there's a hope that this rigidity we've seen in the system where there's no money, this mid-year review could correct that.
All right. Thanks very much indeed, Georgia Fifth there, with what to expect on Monday when the finance minister addresses Parliament. And of course, we're bringing you more on that on Monday. Be sure to join our coverage of that all-important event here on JoyNews. Now, let's move on to other stories. Tonight, the World Bank Group Chief Economist for Africa, Albert Zilfak, says African governments must pay attention to non-tariff trade barriers if member states will succeed with the effective implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. The World Bank's chief economist noted that it will take more than reduction in tariffs to make the agreement a success.
The African Continental Free Trade Area will create a single continental market for goods and services, as well as customs union to regulate free movement of capital and businesses. Countries joining the African Continental Free Trade Area must commit to removing tariffs on at least 90% of the goods they produce. But speaking on the subject, World Bank's chief economist for Africa, Albert Zilfak, explained member states will have to deal with non-tariff trade barriers as well for the trade agreement to be effective.
one of the biggest constraints to intra-Africa trade is actually non-tariff barriers. So tariff is fine, but lowering non-tariff barriers is even going to be more important, and we're not there yet. What are barriers? When you take that truck and you're going from Ghana to Cote d'Ivoire, how many times do you have to stop for controls, for inspections, for let alone corruption, right? That's a non-tariff barrier, and we would have, as African countries, to decide to really curb non-tariff barriers. The second thing is that we will not increase trade and therefore really harness the potential of trade to become an engine of growth for Africa if we don't move towards free movement of people. Economists call it mode for trade, right? It's actually trade. You cannot trade without people moving.
Mr. Zilfak also added the rules of origin must be adhered to and countries must produce based on comparative advantage.
We would need to start thinking in terms of regional value chains, right? Regional value chains means very, very simply that each country agreeing not to produce every good they need, but producing one component of a good that may be produced in another country. Yet, jobs will be created all across countries. But if we still believe that Ghana or Cote d'Ivoire or Togo needs to produce everything they need for themselves, then it's not going to work.
For Joy Business, Sheila Tamaklo reporting.
Now, joint partners of the 2019 JoyNews Habitat Fair are promising affordable and exciting deals for customers as the fair officially launches today. The theme for the 10th edition of the fair is rethinking building technology in Ghana to give true meaning to affordable housing. Karen Dodo has more.
The 2019 edition of the JoyNews Habitat Fair, like previous editions, is aimed at bringing together experts and companies in the housing sector to proffer solutions to the housing needs of Ghanaians. This year, the first mini clinic of the fair will take place on the 3rd and 4th of August 2019 at the Achimota Mall, with the second mini clinic following at the West Hills Mall on the 17th and 18th of August 2019 from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Usual partner of the Habitat Fair, Elegant Homes and Construction Limited, has assured of their regular support to make the fair a one-stop shop for affordable housing needs. Dorothy Kwashi is the Executive Director of Elegant Homes and Construction Limited.
I'll entreat or encourage all prospective home owners to, as usual, expect our 10% discounts, expect our freebies where we give remote control garage, remote control gates and doorbells and others for Habitat Fair. This year is going to be great. Come and be part of our dream.
For new entrant Supersem Cement, the fair will be a platform to showcase the best to Ghanaians. Kobe Adams is Commercial Director for Supersem Cement.
What we can promise is that we will be there to provide very competitive rates, so cement at a rate that you wouldn't be able to buy on the open market, and that's very important. But in addition to that, we're obviously available to provide information to help people, guide them as they begin their projects to build their dreams.
Sponsors for the 2019 JoyNews Habitat Fair include DBS Roofing, Petok, Demod Roof and Interplast. For Joy Business, Karen Dodo.
The second edition of the Made in Ghana Bazaar Extravaganza is underway at the Accra International Conference Center. Foreign Affairs Minister Shirley Ayokoboche tells Joy Business Ghana's export market is more than ready to take advantage of the Continental Free Trade Agreement. She says adequate orientation has been given to businesses to remain competitive. Charles Aite was at the event grounds and reports. So the second edition of the Made in Ghana Bazaar Extravaganza is underway at the Accra International Conference Center. And I mean, I have proof of this. You could see what I'm wearing right now. This is a smock that was originally made in Ghana. The entire move behind this program is to advance the cause of Made in Ghana goods here in Ghana and even abroad. We're talking of the Continental Free Trade Agreement and how prepared we are as a nation to embrace this opportunity. I put this question to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Honorable Shirley Ayokobochi, and she says we're very ready.
I think it's very clear that the countries that take advantage, the countries that are competitive, the countries that have the products are the ones, the countries that are more industrialized are the ones that will benefit from the Continental Free Trade Area. And therefore, the President's vision of an industrialized Ghana is something that we have to pay a lot of attention to and ensure that it comes to pass.
From nicely woven smocks like what I'm wearing right here to decently woven kente materials as we have displayed behind me, most of the entrepreneurs and exhibitors here are saying that the Continental Free Trade Agreement will be that spark that will shoot them and catapult them to match prospective business ideas beyond Africa. I spoke to some of them about how prepared they are and how attractive their products are ahead of the Continental Free Trade Agreement.
We are preparing in terms of branding. We are getting our stuff ready so that when it finally arrives, we can take the opportunity to go to other African countries and also spread our brands and our products in all the other African.
Free trade is a splendid initiative. So local entrepreneurs are trying to get their stuff out there, and there are a lot of barriers like high tariffs, how to get their stuff out there, paying a lot of stuff to get things going. So I think this initiative will really help us to get our products to other African countries, let them know what we're doing in Ghana, and also push the name of Ghana forward.
Now, let us face it, our culture here in Africa is a very rich one, and even that of Ghana has no comparison. But as we kickstart the second edition of the Made in Ghana Bazaar and Extravaganza, questions remain as to how prepared we are to meet competition, not just in Ghana, with like nice delicacies like what I have here, that's sobolo in a calabash, but of course the various products that we have, the manufacturing goods that we have as well. I'm Charles Aite for Joy Business. African laughter. Well, let's turn attention to other news now. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta says all efforts are being made to make Ghana a petroleum hub. He stated this at an investor conference by the Ghana International Trade Fair Authority to redevelop the International Trade Fair Center into an international convention center. The project, when completed, will serve as a business hub in the sub-region. There is more in the following report.
Government is making all efforts to bridge the infrastructural gap and to create the enabling trade environment for other foreign investors. This was after Ghana won the bid to hold the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Minister for Planning, Professor George Jan Barfour, stressed the Accra International Trade Fair Center will be rebuilt to meet international standards in the next 5 years to boost tourism, businesses, and stimulate economic growth. He indicated that the redevelopment project will cost an estimated amount of $2 billion and is expected to provide over 10,000 direct and indirect jobs. He was speaking at the official launch of the Ghana Trade Fair Site Redevelopment Project Investor Conference here in Accra.
Within the next 5 years, we can deliver to the people of this country and indeed within this region a first-in-class convention center with exhibition facilities that will facilitate world-class trade and investment and provide an environment for continuous economic activity all day and all year round.
The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, on his part noted that government is creating the enabling environment for businesses to thrive and to make the country an economic hub.
We are pushing for Ghana to be the International Financial Services Center. On top of that is also the petroleum hub, which we are going a long way to do because of our safety and security, even the security products of petroleum that Nigeria and our neighboring countries need can be here for us. With the finds that we are now identifying in oil and gas of Acres and Total, etc., and Exxon, it's now the beginning of also us as a future real oil and gas place. So Petroleum Hub is also on its way.
CEO of Ghana Trade Fair Company Limited on her part said the 150-acre land will be put to good use to make Ghana the preferred destination for business.
A project of this size, not only is it not cut and dry, it is an ambitious timeline. But we have wasted so many years waiting for this. So if I come in and then I say, oh, I have 20 years, it won't work, right? We want only serious investors. We want only serious developer. If your developer and your timeline is 15 years, this is not the project for you.
There will be a groundbreaking in the third quarter of 2019, and the project will also commence around that same time.
And that's Business Live tonight. Thanks for watching. My name is Daryl Kwao. There's more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. We have all the day's stories that you can read going into the weekend, plus all our bulletins, just in case you missed out on any one of them. And thanks for watching. We are back same time next week.